Hello there and welcome again to my workshop. This is the last in the series of this 3 videos of making this oak chair or oak stool for my wife, actually, for in the kitchen. What I'm doing now is I'm making a jig so I can drill the holes through the legs exactly the same point in each leg. So I've just made a small jig to ensure that I can drill them very accurately. So now I'm moving the jig a measured amount to the next hole, and I'll screw it into my my bed there to be able to put the leg back in and drill the second hole on each leg. Now a little bit of sanding before I prepare to drill the side of that seat area to fit all the legs. Now I elected to actually, well, I suppose you could call it bolt these legs on with inserts, threaded inserts into the material, and then which the bolt lines up with and sort of bolts it on. It's much more solid, and of course there's a half lap joint as well, but I wanted to be able to I didn't want to glue it, so this was the strongest way of attaching the legs, to be very safe, because they're very long. People sort of sat on them and sort of tend to sort of move about on them a bit, so it loads the legs up under a lot of stress. So I made these legs half lap joints, and plus I'm using this this very sturdy method of attaching them to the seat then. So this is drilling the seat base through to put the insert. Well, there's the insert going in there, and there's a small arrow on it which shows you the direction that the thread lines up with the bolt. Now I use the same method to attach the backrest. I wanted to sort of make, I suppose, a modular unit, and just as well I did, because I had I suppose you'd call it a fit-in. I got the wife to sit on it and say, this comfortable, and she just said that perhaps the backrest needed to be back a couple more inches. It's something I didn't think of, and of course when I sat on it I understood entirely what she meant. You just that little bit too far forward, so that's coming up in a minute. So now I'm very solidly attaching the cross beams. Now I think this one's the front footrest, I'm not really sure. So what I elected to do was I put 2-inch heavy gauge screws in and buried them right into the wood, and then I put the side rails on over top of this, using screws again, but I've got little plastic head plugs then to disguise the head of the screw. I expect some of you out there would think this is, I suppose, overkill, but you know, it probably would have been alright with one screw, but I like to be pretty methodical in everything I do, and I like things to be built really strong, so you know, it takes out that uncertainty with whatever I do, and so yeah, everything is built solid, or as solid as I know how anyway. Okay, so that was the extension that I made, and I had to go out and get longer bolts or screws, whatever you want to call them. I think those were 75mm or 60mm, and I went out and bought 100mm, and I made that extension block and put that on there and matched it all in with all the other wood. And look, you know, it looks fairly, well, very presentable, and you know, when it's varnished, it looks as though it should have been there right from the very beginning, so everybody's happy. So after the last bit of sanding, I sort of give it all a good wipe down, make sure there's no dust on it, and I've actually vacuumed my workshop so there wasn't any dust around, because it was very dusty after doing this job. And then started the process of varnish. Now, my wife liked I'd like a satin varnish finish, which is what this is, and it's probably going to take about 3 or 4 coats to, you know, sort of really bring it up. Each coat will take it down a shade in color, and yeah, so there you are, an oak chair, or oak stool as it were. And thank you for joining me for these series of videos, and I've been taking note of the of all the comments, and thank you for you know, sort of watching and making comments. Yeah, if you go to my channel, there's now 262 videos on doing jobs like this, CNC routing, and wood turning. I got some more wood turning coming up in the next week, I think, and a little bit of laser work and there's the little mini mill, which will be part of a new segment that I'm going to start up. So once again, thank you for joining, and thumbs up and subscribe to my channel, and I'll see you next time. So bye for now.